So I'll kick things off. My name is Steve Wood. I'm the superintendent of the Tallmadge City School District. This is my 5th day on the job, so I'm still getting fresh. One of the great things about what we're doing here in Tallmadge, though, is as I transition into the role, you'll see Jeff Ferguson is here as well. Jeff is still with us here at Tallmadge, helping with the transition, and he's got 15 years as superintendent just behind him now. So he's wearing shorts and flip-flops. You don't know that, but he is here with us, helping us get started. So I just wanted to kick things off and first of all, thank all of you for being here and being part of this. Service-based learning is something we want to do more of. It's one of those things, how much should you do in a school district? The answer is always going to be more. And we're really pleased to be partnering with Kathy and Ellen from Partnerships Make a Difference. And I love their tagline is they're committed to making learning irresistible. So making it fun for kids and getting our kids out there in the community, working with organizations like yours is just an awesome complement to their learning experience here at Tallmadge City Schools. So again, I want to really thank all of you for being here. We're on a tight schedule, and I certainly, we want to respect your time. I'm thankful that all of you kind of put your organization names there, so we at least get a sense of where you're from, but we're not going to take the time today to kind of go around and introduce ourselves. I think we'll do that at the end of the meeting as kind of, we'll talk a little bit at the end of the meeting about foresee us using, or foresee yourselves using what you learned today to implement at your organization. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Ferguson to talk to you a little bit about the genesis of the program and why it fits into what we want to do here at Tallmadge City Schools.
Thanks, Steve. Again, I echo what Steve said. I want to welcome you folks for taking this big step. This is a big step for you to, get information about hopefully what becomes a long-lasting partnership with us. Just the two pieces that when you have time, I think would help you get to know us and realize that what we're talking about, this service learning, is really, we like to tell people we want it to be in the DNA of our students when they leave us. And not just in their DNA, but we want them to be leaders in this service-based learning. And so you're going to find that we are empowering kids. And there's 2 documents that we worked hard on that you'll have an opportunity to see that I think give you a snapshot of who we are if you don't know who we are. And one is our portrait of a graduate. And you're going to see some of the elements of service-based learning and the advantages we feel it brings to our classroom experience. That was designed by probably 60-some everyone, stakeholders from citizens to students, and you can see that the service-based learning is probably one of the most powerful teaching tools for students to learn to be collaborative. If you think about it, it's difficult to learn to collaborate when desks are in a row, and you think about some of our school experiences, whereas service-based learning is that opportunity. So we call that our North Star. You think about how that guided travelers early on. And so our students are going to be on a 13-year journey in which that North Star helps guide their learning. And so if you look at that document, I think you're going to see that the essence of what you're going to learn in this next hour and a half is going to over and over reflect that North Star. So think of our direction, that document as our North Star. And then we have another document, which is our directional system. And that's the other piece that you're going to see identifies stakeholders, and it identifies best practice. We think of that as the roadmap for those students and for the educators and even community members, all the stakeholders. So think of those 2 things as you go through this next hour and a half with us. You think about that roadmap for us, all of us, yourselves included, and then think about that North Star guiding that journey while we're on the roadmap. So again, welcome. I'm so excited to see this many folks in the middle of a pandemic willing to sit down and have this conversation. So welcome.
Steve, is there anything else you want to add before we talk a little bit further about what service learning is and how it can help the community as well as the kids in Tallmadge?
Turn it over to you, Kathy or Ellen. I think certainly when we think about service learning, what we're looking to do also with our community partners is show how much value we can provide to your organization as well. We're not just asking, we're also, what we really like about Kathy and Ellen's program here is it's structured in a way to be a resource to you all. And that's important to us because the only way this thing is sustainable is because we know all of you are already very, very busy people. So we don't want to add to your load with this. Our goal is to be a resource to you and make this a win-win opportunity where our kids are learning something new. You have new contacts and resources and help in your organization. And it creates, that's the only way we can sustain this is to make this a win-win. So we're committed to doing that for all of you. So with that, I'll turn it over to the experts, Kathy and Ellen.
Thanks so much. Kathy and I are so thrilled to have been working with Tallmadge the last few years. And it is exciting work because we see teachers revitalized. We know that there's going to be great benefit for additional folks in the community. And of course, what happens for the kids is absolutely magical. We have a couple of educators from Tallmadge who can attest to that. And importantly, a little later in the program, we've got a few folks that we have worked with from the agency community here in Central Ohio who will talk a little bit about their experiences and how this has indeed been value added for their organization. We've got a video that Kathy prepared using a special application, and we want to use that to introduce a few ideas, and then we'll reinforce a couple points as soon as you have a chance to look at this.
Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out, find out what it's all about. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together we can change the world. Together we can change the world. With our hands and with our hearts, we can dare to make a start. Together we can change the world. What if we spoke with one voice, knowing that we have a choice? Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get.
I think one of the things
That
that
was great.
we're glad you like it, and all credit 100% to the filmmaker here to my right. Kathy is choosing not to speak too much today. She had surgery earlier this week that makes speaking a bit tough for her, but she said a lot through that video on our behalf, for sure.
Well,
And
I will say though, it is a testament. I learned how to do that yesterday. And so you can teach an old dog new tricks.
she's leaving for Hollywood Monday, so
Right.
take advantage of her skills before she takes off. One of the things that I really want to reinforce in the video is the idea that kids through service learning are able to take on very significant roles, and instead of just seeing themselves and others seeing them as students who sort of waiting for graduation to become real people. That's kind of the traditional approach in education, sometimes involves a lot of delayed gratification. And through service learning, we really are able to enable kids to use their academic knowledge and skills and their own passions and talents to really make a difference for you and your clients. And we have seen that work for the many years that we've been in this business, and the many projects that we have helped get underway in Central Ohio. But already the folks in Tallmadge are beginning to see benefits as well. And we're going to have Shelley and Chad share a few examples with you so that you see that this is already taking form, and we hope that you will join the effort as well. Kathy and I retired officially from our school work in 2000 and 2002, respectively. And teachers and community people asked us to stay involved in this work, and we've never stopped. Now, that could either mean this is really good work, worth your investment of time and energy, or it can mean we have problems letting go. I don't know which, or it might be a combination of the two. But seriously, this is win-win, and we're excited to show you more of that through example. So we will let Shelley and Chad take over in the next 10 to 15 minutes and give you some Tallmadge-based examples.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this endeavor. I'm Shelley Montequino. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning in Tallmadge. And, before I give you some of the examples, I just want to reiterate a little bit of what everybody had just said so far. As a district, we wanted the real life, authentic learning for our kids. And how Jeff talked about our directional system. When you take a look at it, one of our instructional strategies, the top one was problem-based learning and service learning. And through the video that was excellently done, I got to know where you got that at, Kat. That was fabulous. It talked about that it is a teaching strategy, and we knew that this was a new type of learning for our kids and for our teachers to help our kids with. So when we decided that this was the direction that we wanted to go into, with the great help of Mary Jane, and just a big combination of bringing us to meet Kathy and Ellen, who's become a part of our family right now. We've had professional development for our teachers on service learning for, I think, the past 4 years. It's been going on. And we had the teachers, we had a Google sheet, and we just had all the teachers share all the different service learning projects that they've accomplished. And this sheet just keeps growing and growing and growing. So, Kathy and Ellen, I don't think it's that you have trouble letting go. I think it's that it's just that good of stuff that the teachers are embracing it completely.
And because you mentioned Mary Jane at that point, maybe we'll let her get a few reinforcing comments in here before you go to your examples.
Absolutely.
I missed our order a little bit, but that's a great segue back to Mary Jane, if that's okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, I'm Mary Jane Stankina, and I work with the 6th District Educational Compact. And one of my major interests is to think about how we provide career development for students in grades K through 12, so that when they leave high school, they know intrinsically more about themselves related to all of these points in the Tallmadge Star. And so a few years ago, I had the compact received sizable grant money to do some of this exploration. And so I asked Kathy and Ellen if they would help me put that grant together. And my concern was, and the focus was, looking at career development through the lens of authentic learning, rather than a checkoff sheet that says, oh, I like this, and I like that, which is all external. There's nothing very intrinsic about that. And so that was the focus of a large grant that worked with 6 districts. And Tallmadge decided to take that step much further and develop this directional system and this fabulous work that they're doing for all students. And so that's my interest, is to see that students have opportunities in the community to showcase their skills and to also learn from looking at opportunities that are authentic, not made up, but authentic, and to picture themselves, as Ellen mentioned a minute ago, about different roles that they could assume, and do those roles fit their skills and talents and passions and interests. And so it's just a phenomenal way to provide opportunities for students to learn more about themselves from an intrinsic point of view. And also it's related to the curriculum. So I like to think about curriculum, career development, instruction, and et cetera, all together in one focus. It's hard for me to imagine one without the other, and et cetera. And so I've known Kathy and Ellen since 1977, maybe, when we were all working together, but in different parts of the state on the issue of career development. And they took that concept and expanded it to this idea of how can service learning and career development go together. And so I laud the 2 of you for the work that you have done. And I know that if you choose as an organization to go down this opportunity highway with Tallmadge, that you will have reap the benefits immensely. That's all. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks so much. And thank you, Mary Jane, for making a number of these contacts with the community folks. That has been so helpful that you and Chad took the lead in that.
Thank you.
Back to Shelley.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share a couple service learning projects that have been done in the elementary and the high school, and I'm going to share with you the outcomes of the lessons, knowing, like what Mary Jane said, that this isn't just like we're going to collect pennies during lunchtime, or we're going to make pies and sell them. This is the service learning is based on the passion of the kids. Then the teachers take that passion that they want and they build lessons around it based on the standards. And so when they're learning these service learning projects, there's math being taught, there's social studies being taught, science, and language arts. So it's all intertwined to come up with the end product, which is something that's service-based learning. So for example, our first graders worked with the city. We had bats that were living in Dunbar, which was one of our old schools. So our first grade team, along with, in collaboration with the middle school, because one of the big things with service learning is the collaboration between the different schools. They created bat boxes and they placed them around Tallmadge so the bats would have a place to live instead of living in the ceiling of Tallmadge. So that was working along with the city. We had a 5th grade class work with Children's Hospital, and they created baby quilts for the neonatal units at Children's, and then presented it to the moms who were in the neonatal with the babies. We had a high school biology class working with the schools to learn about pollination and growth and whatever you learn in biology. And they grew plants, and then they transplanted them around the high school. So instead of going out and getting a gardener or doing it, they did it themselves. So, but all these 3 lessons that I just explained to you, it was a process. It was lessons being taught to get to that outcome for that. And with that said, Chad, who is a Tallmadge Middle School teacher and who has a class, and I don't know, Kathy, and I don't know if we're going to get into his class, Designing the Future. So Chad, if you want to talk a little bit about your class and then some of the projects that are going on in the middle school.
Sure. Good morning. I am a middle school teacher, and we'll start with my example from the class. I picked 3 of my favorite lessons that we've done at the middle school. All the teachers here have taught service-based learning, but I picked 3 that I particularly like because of the authentic products and the actual process that went into it. For my class, I do teach a class called Designing the Future. As part of that class, students reflect on their skills, talents, interests, passions. And then as part of the class, we do a service-based learning project that the kids develop. And one of my favorite projects, we did do the collecting pennies at lunch project for Leukemia Lymphoma Society, but we took it and used the curriculum from that class to turn that project to fit that class. And students had done their self-reflection. They knew what they were good at. They knew what they cared about. They knew what they wanted to get good at. And we actually developed a company. We had different departments. We had a marketing department, a management team, operations/construction team, art and video productions department. And the kids self-selected where they wanted to go into that project based on what they had learned about themselves. And then they had to maximize their talents to get the most out of that program. So it was a traditional program, just tailored to fit that curriculum. And we raised over $2,700 that year, which was the best we had ever done. So that was one of my favorites just because of the process that we went through. It was an authentic process. Another of my favorites that we've done, we had a 6th grade language arts teacher that did a project called Lifebook. The students went to Mulberry Gardens retirement facility and interviewed residents there. And one of their focus was facts, collecting notes, organizing information. They then took that back to the classroom and turned that into a narrative writing piece. So the groups had to fine tune the information, write it into a biography. So they wrote their biographies about the resident that they worked with, and then they had to map out a book. They had to do a layout. They learned about how books are laid out. And then they actually had the books published through Shutterfly, which makes hardback books. And then they got to turn around and take them back to the residents and present them to the residents as a gift. So the students got to work on narrative writing, and the residents got an activity, an additional activity other than what was provided by the company. And it was a win-win for both groups. So I really love that one. That's one of my favorite ones we've done here. Another one is the first one that we did. We learned that the Ronald McDonald House of Akron was building an addition. So we connected with Mary Sciarra there, who came in and taught us all about Ronald McDonald House and their mission. She connected us to their architects. And in our design and modeling class, we got the specs for the project, and the kids used our architect software to actually make rooms, 3D modeled rooms, to present to the architect and to Mary and get her feedback. So we were going to do architect project anyway. Normally we just have them remodel their room at home, or a less authentic project, but that one was more real. And the students bought in so much that, of course, they wanted to do more for Ronald McDonald House. So they raised over $300. They wanted to put the little coffee pots, the little, I can't think, Keurigs. They wanted to buy as many of those as they could for every room in the new building. So there was an authentic project. The kids learned about Ronald McDonald House. We put information out about it in the school newsletter, sent out tweets about it. So the kids got an authentic learning experience. Ronald McDonald House got exposure. a little bit of money. Some of the kids went and volunteered, so they got that benefit as well. So that was one of my favorites. It's one of the early ones, one of the ones that got me hooked. So those are the three of them. We have the ongoing. We've got many going right now on everything from racial justice to bullying to what else we got? Homelessness. That's another one we've got going in the building right now. So it's great. I get passionate about it. It's really something that I value and think everybody should get into. Thank you.
And if I could just add, when these topics are picked, and I think Kathy and Ellen are going to talk a little bit about it. It's about the children's passion, as Chad had said. It's not the teacher saying, "Hey, we're going to go do Ronald McDonald House," or "Hey, we're going to talk about homelessness," or "We're going to talk about whatever." It's what are the kids passionate about, and as a classroom, they have to work together to figure out what it is that they want the service learning project to be. That.
And that's just, I just have one thing I want to add to that, Shelley. And that is thus the reason why you all were invited to participate is because many of you represent organizations for which students in the past in all of our districts have expressed an interest. And so thank you very much for joining and learning more about this.
Absolutely. I am so glad that Tracy put in the chat. I hope everybody noticed that she said Chad was being honest, that he is a darn good teacher. And that is absolutely true. He is a stellar educator. At the same time, I want to praise his colleagues because Kathy and I, over the last several years, have worked with nearly every teacher in Tallmadge. And these folks are creative. They're open to new approaches. They take such delight in their work and mission as teachers, and they would make you so proud. But what they've got going is their background, their excitement, their connection to the kids, but they need the real life challenges to connect with. And that's where you folks come in and bring us the reality, because in service learning, one of the things we always want to make sure of is that we're addressing the right issues and the right needs. And it's really from the community folks that we get the feedback for educators and kids about what is most pressing and how can we help. We don't want to come to you with open and well-intentioned hearts and solve the wrong thing. And so it really is a terrific opportunity for partnership between the school the community to get the maximum benefit from everybody. Okay, now I'm going to transition to our folks from Central Ohio. And if your heart is not already warmed up from the examples that were shared by Shelley and Chad, we're going to push you over the edge here. Because the two projects that we're going to share and the two people that you'll meet, I think will bring affirmation of what this means for the organization, but also what it means to see that partnership between school and community. And we're going to share first an example from first grade. This took place at Tremont Elementary School, and it will give you an example that puts a little bit different spin on how projects can get started. Shelley is absolutely right that it is essential for teachers to engage the ownership and commitment and passions of the kids when a project begins. It's also true that sometimes the teacher plants a seed, has an idea, and then creates a way that the kids really believe it was their idea to begin with. I'll be honest about that, and that's part of really good teaching. I know Chad has been guilty as charged, and in the first grade example that you're going to see, this idea began because the teacher's mother was dealing with Alzheimer's, and the teacher was very interested in helping her students and their families understand more about this and be able to feel like they could have some impact. At the same time, I assure you that part of the project was also designed to affirm that not everybody goes down this road. Though many people do, this is not something to generalize to all older adults. And so there was a lot of learning about the aging process beyond Alzheimer's as well. I want you to notice when you watch the video, the references to the children's literature that the teacher connected to the project, the other areas of curriculum that she connected to. And it'll give you a wonderful example of how the whole issue and need and community partnership were woven into many aspects of the curriculum as the project evolved. So with that, we will show you the video.
Right before I share the screen too, I just wanted to add that when we talked about where projects start from, and Ellen said that in this case, this was really an issue that was first and foremost on the heart of the teacher. The community agencies, I think you would all agree that one of your main missions is to help people in the community understand what your agency does and get them involved in helping to forward the mission of your organization. Every teacher brings along 25 or 30 or more kids, who bring along many parents, who bring along many grandparents. And I would guess that if you ask Pam, that most of these first graders had little connection with the issue of Alzheimer's before they started this project. So one of the things that I want you to watch is from beginning to end, and especially towards the end of this video, if you don't feel that these kids who maybe had no connection with this issue prior to this, how they embraced and had an emotional connection to this issue, which means their parents also had an emotional connection to this issue. And when we talk about mutually beneficial partnership here, not only did the first graders provide real benefit to the people at Danbury, but high school students in the videography class, the broadcast media class at the high school, local high school, created and produced this video, which is, I think, a benefit both to the schools and hopefully Jason would say to the Alzheimer's Association as well.
You'll also see reference to the partnership between the first graders and middle school students who helped them carry out part of what they wanted to do. So it really is across elementary school, middle school, and high school as it all came together.
So this all started because my mom is diagnosed with late onset Alzheimer's, and we moved her to a facility here in Columbus. And of course, to become ingrained in my children's lives and to establish rapport, I always talk about my family. And so I started talking about my mommy, and I think they felt sorry and they felt some empathy. Their little eyes teared up. And I started reading and just immersing them in literature about memory loss, mostly about grandpas and grandmas, which they all have. So it was relevant to them. And then we decided that we would help the folks in my mom's memory care facility, which is Danbury Senior Living. And we started making them things each month. So it ran the gamut from Halloween placemats to hearts on the windows in their dining hall to joke books. And then our great media specialist, Kristen Bugnitz, brought me this wonderful article. There were adult fidget blankets in there. And they described how people need something to do with their hands. So we got online and we talked about things and doodads and gadgets that we could put on these blankets.
This is one of the blankets, and like it's for like fidgeting, and you can ring this bell and the sequence. And like this is beads that say love on it. And so this is a button that you can put it around. So, and this is a keychain that you can put a keychain on it.
They designed each blanket on paper and labeled them and drew them so that our middle schoolers could follow their directions. And our two life skills teachers from both middle schools helped us by having their students sew them. And the great part was we met at the Service Learning Summit in spring. We got to talk to those, or at least a few of those middle schoolers. The fidget blankets were off to the side. We were asking them questions about the project so that my current students would get an idea of what the second graders had done all last year. And then we started passing out their designs. So you have this square piece of paper with 9 little sections and all beautifully drawn with their little labels. So we handed them their design with their blankets. And they looked so prideful when we handed them their blankets. They looked so complete. It was like the project had become real. And then we let the first graders go and experience what these fidget blankets could do. And we heard conversations like, oh, here's the zipper, and this is what I wanted. I wanted these words the word J-O-Y in this section, and there it is. And they were all touching them and excited about them. And certainly Jason Abity from the Alzheimer's Association and I were thrilled to watch this interaction take place.
I came out and did a project with them with beach balls, and we broke into groups and tried to make each group a quote unquote brain. And they had to pass this beach ball or memory from the front of the line to the back of the line. And as the project progressed, we made it harder and harder for them to pass this memory down. And they talked about how they were frustrated when they couldn't get the memory through, or they felt it was unfair when they couldn't get the memory through.
He taught us. We're in the gym, I think, and we were holding balls, and then we had to pass them, and he put it out of our hand, pushed it out of our hand, so it could feel memory, just falling out, kind of. We helped the people that had Alzheimer's at Danbury, and we made blankets for them.
Taking those blankets to my mom's memory care facility, and all the high schoolers and the elementary kids got into the same bus. And we got our way to Danbury, and we sang, we told them jokes, and we presented them with the fidget blankets and had a good hour there with, I think, 30 residents. So that would be the best part, was seeing our children's faces giving those fidget blankets after a whole year of working on them. Taking the fidget blankets with my former students to Danbury was very obviously personal to me. So it was an emotional day. And maybe I didn't enjoy it as much because I was looking at it in 2 different ways, as the facilitator and as a child. But I love that they brought my mommy up in front, and she got to sit right with me while the children told Halloween jokes independently. And they were so confident and so comfortable there. And then we all did a little chant, and we had the residents echo us. And we sang some songs. But when they gave the fidget blankets, it was beautiful because the children were trying to get the elderly to touch the zippers and to pick up the flaps and to feel the fur and the sequins and the baby bumpy fabric. And it was nothing I taught them to do. I didn't ask them to do any of those things. I just told them to do it, and they did it in their own sweet ways.
The students learned a lot, but for them, it wasn't enough just to learn. They wanted to give back.
When I think about this project, I think of the word ripple. That has been my word of the year in the past as a teacher. But I've seen these 6 and 7-year-olds drop the pebble in, and this ripple is just extending away from our classroom into the hearts and the minds of the second graders, certainly, and of the whole school. And as people put this on social media, I get letters and Facebook messages from folks near and far. I got a college roommate. I have a college roommate who sent me a beautiful card telling me how much this project meant to her, knowing that it helped me deal with my mom's diagnosis of Alzheimer's. So I love that these little guys are the center of this ripple. I'm appreciative that I'm with them on this, and so proud that this hopefully will carry on and create bigger and bigger ripples around our lives.
So they found a way to bring joy into these people's lives and really, make a positive change. And for anyone that's facing Alzheimer's or dementia, they know it's a tough journey, and a little bit of joy and a little bit of comfort and a little bit of calm can go so long. So I'm really happy that they were able to learn a lot about this and give back to the community and hopefully make a better future for anyone that's fighting Alzheimer's.
You'll never know, dear.
As you can imagine, Pam Bergen is a terrific teacher and a wonderful service learning practitioner, but she would be the first to say she could not have pulled this off without the collaboration with Danbury and especially with Jason Abity from the Alzheimer's Association. So with that, let us turn it over to Jason to make a few additional comments.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'll keep this fairly brief because I think the video really speaks for itself. The scale of the ripple that, as Pam would put it, that was started by her students in her classroom just has gone far and wide. And I just loved working with them for a multitude of reasons. One, personal. I used to be a teacher myself before I came to the Alzheimer's Association, so it allowed me to have a lot of fun and be back in the classroom. But ultimately, it helped us really fulfill our mission. And I believe my role at the Alzheimer's Association is to find people that need our help and find people who want to give their help. And working with Pam and the entire staff at Tremont and Upper Arlington Schools really helped us scale that up and reach a whole new segment of people. Like Kathy and Ellen were saying, it's not just the students in the classroom, it was their parents, it was their grandparents, it was others in the community. It was written up in the local paper. So we were able to spread awareness to a whole bunch of different people around the community. Another element to it was we were able to scale up and do an activity for one of our partners who supports us in our mission, Danbury, to do something great for them that we could not have imagined or accomplished on our own. So by creating these fidget blankets and creating these visits and bringing joy to those people at Danbury, that's something that the Alzheimer's Association supports, but it's certainly not our number one day-to-day priority. But by being able to help one of our partners who supports us in the mission, that made us have a greater impact in a way that we wouldn't probably have thought of before. And finally, from our organization's perspective, we're always looking to build transformational relationships, and this definitely helped us raise awareness to the cause, find new people out there who do need our help and who want to give their help, and create long-lasting transformational relationships. We got donors from it, of course, we always need donors. We also got volunteers from it, and we also just got referrals and people who need our help from it. So working with Pam was just phenomenal because she is a truly passionate teacher, but also very passionate about the cause and the mission to end Alzheimer's like I am. And it was just so great to see these students latch onto this program and jump in with 2 feet and try to find a way to make the world better and learn along the way.
Thank you so much, Jason, for your help with the project. And since then, Jason also came to an annual summit that we had with 300 people there, teachers and kids, and did some activities to raise awareness about Alzheimer's among that entire population. And there were some kids from Pam Bergen's class who helped to present the information. So when we talk about the kids becoming experts and change makers, we are serious about the expert part and very serious about the change maker part as well. Another agency that we have worked with closely is the Community Shelter Board. And I'll let Sarah Loken talk to you about their mission and the work that they've done with us. They too have been involved in some of our annual summits and brought tremendous awareness to the issue of homelessness to all of our participating teachers and representative students. So Sarah, welcome and take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you today. You all know without explanation what the Alzheimer's Association does, but you may not have heard of Community Shelter Board. We are in Central Ohio. We lead a coordinated community effort to make sure that everyone in Columbus and Franklin County has a place to call home. So we oversee a network of 16 partner agencies who deliver an array of services in our community, including homelessness prevention, shelter, street outreach, and housing. And our system of care serves about 14,000 people a year who face homelessness. Service learning really does help move our mission forward, and I want to share just my thoughts on both the short-term and long-term benefits in the ways that that happens. In the short term, a service learning project always gives us access to bright young minds to talk about the issue of homelessness. And that's my job, is to get people thinking about it and talking about it. As teachers, teachers can help us reach the masses. We have found that students have networks in neighborhoods that we can't otherwise reach. So a great example would be some nice partnerships and introductions we've had to Upper Arlington City Schools, where, you know, if you're not in Columbus or Central Ohio, you can really move through our city and its outlying suburbs in a way that allows you to not see homelessness. And I think Upper Arlington would be one example of that, where you may not necessarily see someone panhandling on the street, or you may not necessarily see as much activity around food pantries or kind of really alarming examples of poverty. And so to be able to reach the masses of students and families in a neighborhood like that is really valuable to us. I think that these projects really create empathy among children and open their eyes and hearts to problems that were maybe invisible before. And another important thing is that schools, projects like this and school excitement like this gives relevance to us, to a community problem. Like when a school is when homelessness is being talked about in schools, that gives a lot of relevance to the work that we are doing at Community Shelter Board, that we're not the only ones talking about the problem. When I think about long-term benefits, I think about how projects like this really inspire young people to a connection and civic engagement. And that's truly the only way that we're going to make progress on big community problems. Everyone has to care. And so if we can start, you know, start reaching people and helping them open their eyes and care at a younger age, that's a huge win. I'm an example of that. I'm a student of service learning, opportunities that I had in high school to really, you know, as has been discussed this morning, choose something I felt passionate and curious about. And that was poverty and homelessness. And it started with some exposures at a soup kitchen, and it turned into a very rewarding career that I can't otherwise imagine. More than 25 years in this field, extremely rewarding, extremely satisfying, just incredible. And without service learning, that exposure literally changed my life. So these projects are opportunities to really plant seeds for a lifetime of social justice advocacy. And I can't think of a more important time for that to be a priority. I want to share just a couple quick project examples with you. One's really simple and one that's a little more complex. So a simple project example is this issue of needing masks during the pandemic, right? It's something that was never on your shopping list before. It's something that we never thought about having to like acquire or provide to people in mass quantity before. It's a new need that didn't exist before. And I know that you have probably, all of you have experienced this too, but we were really scrambling at the beginning of the pandemic to like find them, to get our hands on as many as we could. And it was so super helpful to have some classrooms and schools really helping us with some homemade masks when it was hard to find the disposable ones that you can buy in the market. So a really cool approach to that is to tie the need for masks to an awareness campaign about homelessness and teaching kids like, hey, did you know that 3,000 children were homeless in Columbus last year? How many masks can you collect from neighbors on your street knowing that 3,000 kids need a mask?
Wow.
Tying research about rates of infection in your community and how does masking really slow the spread of the virus? There are so many ways to connect relevant educational curriculum to that need, to that really practical need for a mask. And we've had some classrooms experiment with cool techniques for no-sew masks, and then the opportunity to do some math and budgeting around fabric and other materials. So that's a really simple, practical example. A more sophisticated example that I want to share with you that's been really exciting is we're working on a communication campaign about the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine. We've been doing a lot of prevention efforts around COVID to make sure that in Central Ohio, if our hospitals get overrun during this pandemic, it's not going to be by homeless people who are sick, who are not getting access to treatment, to masks, to testing, to the right kind of medical care when they do become sick. So the vaccine is a really, really important priority for us. And we are partnering with the public relations class at Capital University that is taking on this project with us and is working side by side with us all semester to work on these materials for a strategic communications campaign to try to increase vaccine uptake among the staff that work in our network and among clients that are experiencing homelessness and getting served in our network. This is a partnership that really takes some time and attention on my part. So I want to acknowledge that from the agency side, this does take intention. This does take some thoughtful effort, but the payoff is incredible. So like I'm inviting these students to sit in and observe during input sessions where we're testing key campaign messages with staff in our network, as well as testing messages with people who have lived experience of homelessness. We had a student join us for one of those input sessions yesterday, and it was really fantastic. I'm going to bring some frontline shelter staff workers to be guest speakers in one of the class sessions later this month to share what kinds of hesitancy they're hearing from their clients who don't want to take the vaccine. And then the students are going to take all of that input and that research and that kind of focus group, what they hear there, and develop social media content, video assets for us, and also a news media strategy. So I tell you, this is worth my upfront investment of time because I'm a one-person communication team for this year-long campaign. The work that these students do this semester will serve to refresh my campaign materials over time. They have time that I don't have because this project for me is 20% of my workload this year. And these students also have video skills and equipment that I don't have. I am no Kathy, so I'm not a filmmaker like Kathy. So I need help from these young people who are a little more savvy than I am with the technology. So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. I hope that you feel inspired to join this really powerful and creative network that inspires young people to build better communities. We need them. We need them and we need you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I certainly want to acknowledge all that you have done for and with us. We love working with you. And Sarah serves on the board of our nonprofit, so we appreciate her involvement in that way. We are curious what you folks are thinking, and we want to address that in a couple of ways. First, to take any comments or questions that you specifically want to direct to Jason or Sarah. And then we'll get some more general feedback from you about how this all strikes you. And we acknowledge that many of you may have some experience in working with the schools previously. We are grateful for that. And then some of you may be a little bit newer to this. But any questions or comments that you'd like to direct to Jason or Sarah? Other than when you grow up, you want to be just like them.
This is the one difference between being in a room together and being on Zoom, is that when we're in the room together, you don't have a mute button. So please don't, feel like we're in the same room together, and let's have a conversation just like we would if we were face to face.
So I have a comment. I just wanted to thank you both for sharing, because this has got me thinking so much differently about our partnerships. I know that there's so much opportunity for growth with the Alzheimer's Association specifically, and engaging schools and students. And it's something that we recognized and really wanted to put some more effort into. So I've taken like 3 or 4 pages of notes so far, and I just so appreciate the examples that you guys have given, because now I think I can take this back to the team and have more thoughtful conversation around it. So thank you.
Please don't steal him though. We need him in Central Ohio.
And just to piggyback on that, sorry, real quick with Shauna, I know at the Alzheimer's Association, we talk a lot about transformational relationships, and this is where that kind of stuff happens in regard to transformational versus transactional. And the best relationships are, a ripple or planted with a seed and grow from there. So yeah.
And I love, Shauna, when you talked about a team, the one thing we hope you walk away from today is that the community agencies in the school really are a team, because so often it's so easy for teachers to work in this silo and community agencies to work in this silo. And the schools think you need this, and the community agencies feel like the kids are capable of this and only this. But when you work together, if you talk about what your most current and the highest priorities of your needs are, the Tallmadge teachers are so creative. And you won't believe what, Sarah's working with university students. I can guarantee you that high school students, middle school students, elementary students can also work on campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess we would just really, if you can think about this as a team effort and go into it with maybe not a preconceived notion, but knowing what your needs are and sharing that with teachers, and then teachers have needs to teach certain standards, they'll be able to figure out ways, the two of you together can figure out ways that you don't even know right now are possible.
Yeah. Dennis, you were going to comment.
Yeah, I was going to say that not very much excites me anymore. I've been around for so long and participated in a lot of studies that end up on a shelf. But the portrait of a student, that excited me. And that was a wonderful process, and really will offer long-term value to the district and our students. And then this follows right on the coattails of that, in that I know our community very well, the businesses, the civic organizations, the churches, they will embrace this. They will embrace this big time, and it's an excellent bridge for our district to stay connected with our community. And then our community will feel very happy that they're being included and being asked to help. So this is a wonderful platform. So I'm pretty excited.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know Dennis, he's a former board member for Tallmadge City Schools.
Well, one of the things that really excited us about this work with Tallmadge is they started with a shared vision of what they wanted to have happen with kids. That portrait of a graduate is what you want to end up with. And if you're going to make that more than words on a piece of paper, there are different pieces that have to be put into place. And so the community agencies and organizations are such an important piece of the puzzle to allow Tallmadge to really grow those kids.
Absolutely. Other feedback, either for Jason and Sarah or just in general, thoughts that you have. Shauna?
I'm wondering if it's possible for us to have access to the video that you created with the Alzheimer's Association to share with our staff and just to kind of show them what this program has been capable of.
Absolutely. We'll, in the follow-up correspondence, we'll share the link to the video and maybe some others that might be of interest to you.
And I just put it in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Other comments in terms of what potential benefits you see for your organizations? Any concerns we might address about obstacles going forward?
So I'm Erin from Summit DD. A big focus of ours in our community supports and development programs is inclusion. So I guess I would just like to hear from Jeff or Steve, or maybe both. Where are your kiddos with disabilities falling in the service learning project in regards to inclusion and being included in them? And how can the DD board help? We certainly are willing to help if teachers are struggling with how to get kiddos with disabilities involved with these service learning projects. We believe that they are equally as important and need to have all of those life skills coming out of graduation, just as your typical students. So we definitely are here, and we love this project. This is an opportunity of such growth for just the entire community. So Jeff or Steve?
If Steve doesn't mind, I'll kind of chime in first. A couple things. First, Aaron, I think, we actually have a student council that is representative of the entire student population. So our students with disabilities serve actively on our student council, and community service is a big part of what our student council invests in every year, the holiday times, but year round. We were one of the founding members of a wheelchair basketball league in Ohio, state runner-up. We're going to get Worcester eventually. But that, the beauty of that athletic program is that there are students with disabilities and students without disabilities on that team. And so collectively that and the parent support group that supports that program brings our students together. So we see this as another opportunity in the service. They are intimately, we want to make sure all of our students, that it's an inclusive environment with our projects. And so you would see that you are definitely, Aaron, as a partner with us, you're going to get to work with all of our students.
We'll also include in the follow-up for everybody a video and an article describing one of the outstanding projects that was done here in Central Ohio involving the multi-handicapped class at the high school level, working with second graders. And we have many examples of this being equally successful and especially important with special needs students. But we'll share that by way of example. That's another one that you'll find, I think, very gratifying and moving.
And Erin, I'm so glad you brought it up, because one of the hallmarks of really high quality service learning is the assumption that all kids bring gifts to the table and you're intentional. So if you're intentional to create projects that show kids with disabilities have value and bring something to the table, then you can have inclusion and still not be intentional that they bring value. And so the project that you're going to see it's amazing to watch these kids who had serious disabilities, who were role models
And
for-
teachers, really.
and teachers actually for first graders.
Sorry.
But the flip side of it is that you will see in that video and in some of the photos, the first graders looked at the kids with disabilities like they were rock stars. Now that wouldn't have happened unless the teachers had been intentional to create that experience. And so as we move forward, and if you choose to become involved, being an advocate to have us think about these projects, how can we be intentional? What would it look like to have service learning projects that were intentionally designed to not just be inclusive, but to be beyond inclusive?
And Erin, if I could also, for Tallmadge, inclusivity is the way that we teach everything. So our special ed is all, we don't have extra rooms. They're all in the classrooms together. So it is always it's either a grade level or a team. It's everybody's involved. So you wouldn't have to worry about, we hit everybody everywhere for that, and they all work together for that.
That's awesome to hear. We have partnered with another school district to help them get there. And so we're coaching some teachers and some paraprofessionals to help make that more everyday practice than just one single classroom that is the inclusion class. So I'm glad to hear that is what is going on in Tallmadge. As a Tallmadge grad, I'm even more excited to hear that is what is happening in my home city.
And you know what, Erin, and it's just like with everything else, kudos to Roy Zeman, our special ed director, and our teachers and everybody who's really pushed in to make sure that all our classes are inclusive for that.
Other questions or comments that you have? Let me talk a little bit about what could happen next, and then we'll move forward from there. Next week, everybody who is in the meeting will get a follow-up survey from Shelley that will ask a little bit more about your thoughts and what kind of interest you have in becoming involved. And we also hope, if you have viewed this in a positive light, by all means, tell your colleagues in the agency community, because we are ready and willing to do additional calls to orient other people, bring them on board. Once we establish, or the district establishes, that you'd like to go a little further with brainstorming and planning, that's where they will begin to identify some teachers that might be appropriate partners for things that you have in mind. And they'll bring folks together. When Kathy and I can be helpful doing some brainstorming and coaching online with teachers and agency people together, we're happy to do that. But the folks in Tallmadge are getting very good at that on their own. So some may be ready to move without our assistance on that. But we really just need to find out through the survey if you're interested, what else you need to know. And then if you want to go further and meet some potential partners in the teacher category, we'll make that happen as well. Shelley, Steve, Jeff, Chad, anything else that you want to comment on in terms of next steps that you envision?
I guess not necessarily a next step, but do you see any potential roadblocks to making this work? Because that's always my concern when trying to plan out projects that the kids have expressed interest in. is there anything that makes you automatically say, no, I don't want to deal with them? I can't do that right now. We can't make that work. Are there any of those kind of roadblocks that you see or could share that we could cut off ahead of time?
Chad, do you mean from an agency perspective?
Or from an agency perspective, say I have a group of kids that we've done our heartbreak maps. We've looked at what they really care about, what breaks their heart. They want to do something to help seniors with Alzheimer's, and we're ready to reach out. What would be the wall that keeps it from happening?
Speaking from Summit DD, our wall would be COVID. We have some special regulations when working with our adult populations in our adult day programs. So as those are lifted, those become less of a barrier. I believe the governor did just lift some and made some changes. So COVID is becoming less of a barrier as we are figuring out how to navigate this new normal, as everyone's calling it, with COVID still here. We're also working on vaccinations. But yeah, the biggest barrier that we've seen over the past year has mostly been COVID and COVID.
And of course, that's been a challenge on all fronts. One of the areas of work that we've gotten involved in more recently is helping teachers design service learning projects that can occur whether school is happening in person or hybrid or completely remote. And so let us reassure you that even if you're dealing with limitations related to COVID, it's likely that there can still be excellent service learning initiatives revolving more around education and awareness, maybe not so much around direct contact and direct service right now, but you are still hoping to educate folks in the community about things that are important, and teachers are looking for authentic things that are important for kids and their families to learn about. So there is still a great potential to cultivate good ideas, even in this unusual environment we're continuing to live with for a while. And I think too, in relation to Chad's question about where are the walls, I think we do want to know from you as you reflect on this further, what potential barriers might exist, but we also don't want to automatically give into those. I think when we pull people together to talk about possible ways of addressing those challenges, we can usually do it together. So just, let us respond initially to your degree of interest, and then we can explore possibilities through teaming the agency folks and the educators in meaningful ways. And I think lots of good things can happen. Other comments?
Sorry, to add to that real quick is, just communication, I think, would be super key when planning and building a partnership. Because of course, us at the agencies a lot of times are, spread thin on time and resources. So if we're gonna, commit our time and resources, we want to make sure that it fulfills the vision of our agency and helps your students at the same time. But it has to be a balance. If it really benefits your students 90 and us 10, we want to be able to help, but we might not be able to commit the time and energy to something like that.
It's a good point.
It's a great point. And it's one of the things we continue to talk with teachers about too, because as all of you know, teachers have big hearts. And so it's very easy to be in a situation where I'm going to teach math or I'm going to teach science, and now I'm going to do service. And so if they teach math and then they do service, it takes time away from teaching math or science or language arts. And so by integrating, our bottom line is we do this not only to help the community, certainly that's part of our mission, but our kids, we believe it will help them learn their language arts skills in a higher degree, their math skills and so forth. And so both partners coming in, you need to be honest about what your needs are. And then
I think from a teacher perspective as well, when we had this grant opportunity a few years ago, we had teachers from each district participate, and Kathy and Ellen facilitated this work. Chad was part of that. And one of the things that I observed was at first, excuse me, some teachers had difficulty with just what Kathy and Ellen were talking about. I teach math or I teach science. But by the time the work was over, they saw that they could teach science through service learning, or they could teach English through service learning. So it wasn't one or the other, but that they could take the same standards that they have to teach to on a daily basis, but look at the delivery in a different way, which I thought was an exciting learning for them.
And the other thing is, while I'm teaching social studies, I'm also teaching empathy, collaboration, problem solving. And so those are, we all take the long view. Community agencies, you want to make sure somebody's not homeless tonight, but you also want to end homelessness. And we want our students not just to be able to bring in enough food during the food drive, but we want them to be educated so they can solve problems of hunger down the road. And so we can't do that separately. I don't believe.
I think one thing for the Alzheimer's Association and maybe some of the other organizations is just being able to communicate to the students why it's an important cause. It's that Alzheimer's isn't just an older person's disease, or, they can see, there's children with food insecurity, or there's kids who are impacted by cancer and these other things, but really connecting the dots to them, why this is an important organization and how it's good for their community. So maybe there's a student that has a grandparent who has seen this that can speak to that, or, the teacher was the champion for it in the video. So just figuring out how we can relate that to the students so that they can feel passionate about it and it can pull at their heartstrings.
Yeah, one of the things that you don't see in that video, and I was there the day they took the blankets to Danbury and the high school kids were filming. These kids who, at the point they went to Danbury, they were actually in second grade. And so I was standing back and I was watching. There were parents there as volunteers to, go on the field trip with them. They're high school kids. And the adults in the group who had not had the full experience that Pam had provided for her little ones, the adults and the high school kids were kind of standing back from the residents. And the second graders went right up. There was no fear. There was no, I don't know if I can adequately express that experience that I observed. But I thought then those kids, when they're adults, will be advocates for this issue. And so the difference in behavior, it's not just awareness, but the difference in behavior was significant.
If there are no other comments, we want to do just a one or two sort of housekeeping points and then have a video that we'd like to conclude with. One, when you receive your survey from Shelley, please let us know as a part of your comments whether you have any suggestions for enhancing this introductory meeting, so that if we have another group of agency folks down the road and we're trying to provide similar initial orientation, any suggestions you have that would make this an even better experience for the agency folks, we would welcome that. Secondly, when you take a look at the roster that you received in advance of this meeting, if there are any corrections for your contact information, please let us know that. If there are colleagues in the agency community that you want to suggest we reach out to, if you would first give them a heads up, but you're also certainly free to submit the contact information to us so that they get included in future information. So those are a couple of things that are important to us. We'll come back for just a parting comment from Steve after the video, but when we talked about kids having the capability to help with messaging, and Sarah was talking before about working with college kids, this is a video that high school students did a year before last to supplement the media campaign for the Community Shelter Board. And they had done a video interviewing a number of adults about what the concept of home means to them and what they feel it would be like to be homeless. And we suggested that maybe it would be worthwhile to have a youth version of this so that kids were responding to the same questions. And so the high school filmmakers did this really in the space of one day when we were all gathered at our annual summit. And I think you'll find the results pretty compelling.
Home to me is a place where I can be loved and not be judged.
I think about comfort, safety, family, and love.
It doesn't necessarily have to be my physical home. It's a place where I want to be.
Home means somewhere where people I trust live and somewhere where I feel comfortable and safe.
Place where you can go back to when you're down low and you fall short in life.
Home means to me, it's a place where everyone loves you.
If you didn't have a home, how would you feel? I think I would feel really lost and just kind of everything that I took for granted, everything would just kind of be gone. The stability that comes with the home that I've always had, it would all be gone. I think that would just kind of be lost and not know like what I was doing and like how I would move on from that.
If I didn't have a home, I would feel bad because right now the things that I don't really care about would be the things that I would be really thankful for if I didn't have a home.
If you didn't have a home, how would I feel? I feel like I would feel discombobulated and broken because your home is where you start your ground base to build your village and to be successful. So without that, it's hard to adapt to life.
If I didn't have a home, I'd feel very depressed because I feel like if you had a home, you could go home and unload all your feelings about how you're feeling that day.
If I didn't have a home, I couldn't imagine that situation.
I think it's important to find solutions in homelessness because people don't deserve to live like this, and they don't deserve to not have a place to call home.
It is important to find solutions because homelessness is a bad thing.
I think it's important because we want to have, I think it's important because we want to have everyone have equal access to homes.
I think it's important to find solutions to end homelessness because if we don't end homelessness, then more and more people are going to keep being homeless.
I believe it's important to find solutions to end homelessness because homelessness does not just mean that you don't have a physical space to live. It affects people on a much deeper level.
Today has inspired me to end homelessness because after seeing like how many people are actually on the streets or in homeless shelters in this just little part, it's kind of heartbreaking. So changing that could really help.
I've learned that there's many people that are in need, and that's why. I would actually give away my clothes to the people.
Okay, I want to be a part of a team to help end homelessness. I want to make sure all people are equal.
Today has inspired me to end homelessness because I realized how many people are homeless today. We could try to make more like housing shelters for the homeless people.
Well, I didn't realize how prevalent the issue was and how close it is to home. It impacts me more than I originally had thought. And so that kind of makes me want to make more of a difference.
Steve, you want to close us out there?
Well, again, want to thank all of you for taking your time out this morning. We hope you'll take the next step with us on this journey. As I opened the meeting about creating win-win, we already know what the win is for our kids, getting out there and experiencing some of these opportunities and learning new things. I know about a lot of your organizations and the amazing things you're doing in the Akron area. We certainly want our kids to learn and understand that as they go through their learning process with us. We also want it to be a win for your organization as well, and we think it can be. I don't know, the more I hang out with kids make me happy, you know, they bring that perspective. You saw that in that video. So having kids in your buildings, interacting with them, there's just a tremendous amount of reward that comes with that. So there's that part. And then also doing really cool things for your organization with the help of folks like Chad and the rest of our great teachers. So I hope you'll take the next step with us. And again, thank you so much for your time. We know you all are very busy.
Special thanks to Jason and Sarah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for having us.